for watches or warnings to air immediately when they're issued. Keep yourself and your family safe by tuning into the WHOW platforms on AM, FM, or streamed online, as well as on WEZC 95.9 FM.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. DeWitt County has long been discussing the agreements made with municipalities for animal control services and how they could better assist with that department's budget. At Thursday night's DeWitt County Public Safety Committee meeting, Chair Megan Myers had the goal of brainstorming how they can create a pay scale for municipalities that incorporates the number of calls that come up in an area and the services that the municipality desires.
The one thing we've got on the agenda this evening are the intergovernmental agreements, and I did ask Grace if she could go through and start looking about, using the software and see if we can get some numbers. I think one of the things we've got to get a good handle on is the cost. And with the animal control study, the cost study, when we went back and looked at that, the one thing I thought we were missing is a breakdown of the actual cost just for us to run that program. If we had no municipality animals coming in, what is the cost just to have that building? The county would incur, and they've got it kind of lumped together. So I guess one of my questions, Dee, is if we could get, is there some way we can break that out? Or I know we give them some information when they do the cost study. Like, do they ask generally for energy cost, or when
they looked at the power bills at that time. Yeah.
So my question to you guys is, and we need to brainstorm this, how do we get a better handle of what our fixed costs are, and then the variable, depending on how many animals are coming in? So we can, I think, just better understand the numbers.
Rob Walters brought up the idea of charging municipalities at the end of each year based on the activity in that area.
What would the total amount be from all municipalities as far as them? Like if we set a flat fee, that this is what it's going to take for us to cover the entire county, and every year base that payment on the percentage of activity from that particular municipality. That places the burden on the people that are using it the most, and the percentage of it. If the entire cost is $10,000 and 50% of your calls are from Clinton, then Clinton pays $5,000.
That's similar to what we do with CENTCOM, because CENTCOM is based off of ETSB's portion, and then the CENTCOM participants portion is determined by the number of 911 calls that come into the dispatch center. If it's 50% of the cost of those calls, then ETSB is on the hook for 50%, and then the CENTCOM municipality, the Farm City, DeWitt County, and City Clinton are on the hook for the rest of it, and then it's split up by population.
County Administrator Dee Dee Rentmeister brought up that the county is technically only on the hook for calls that are in unincorporated land, and that animal control is currently providing more services than required to municipalities.
Statutorily, we can only provide animal control for like dogs running at large in the unincorporated areas of the county. So we don't to provide more than that to the municipalities. We're going above and beyond. So we're looking at our budget and we're budgeting, but I think we are we expending money to provide these extra services to the municipalities to enforce their ordinances and running at large and we're not getting the revenue from it. And what are they taxing their municipalities for, animal control ordinances?
I guess that's one of my questions. How do we get to what is a fair or covers the cost? How do we get to a good fee structure for this? I mean, I think in order to present that to municipalities, we got to tell them where, how we came up with that. I think part of this also includes, I think one of the issues we've had, Grace, is that like the city of Clinton, some of these other municipalities, their ordinances don't necessarily line up with ours, and you all end up enforcing things that are vague. So also making sure that we have an agreement on the ordinances that need to be in place for the county and the municipality, so they're only enforcing one set, not trying to keep track of it.
With the city of Clinton taking up around 50% of the animal control calls in the county, the committee plans to start by finding out how much is budgeted by the city for the service from its taxpayers. They hope to get a baseline of what the total cost is and what all of the needs are.
If the county's going to provide animal control services for the municipalities at whatever level they request, maybe that's where we start, is what type of animal control services would you like to contract with us? And then we look at the cost of personnel, to provide, personnel, the gas, the wear and tear on the vehicles, that kind of thing, and come up with I think right now, if asked to Clinton, what type of services do they want? I don't know that they could actually tell you exactly what services they want, because they're getting every service that whatever call they place, we're responding to and giving them that service.
Is that something that you can break down, Grace, when you get called out? How often you get called out for things that are just like somebody has more animals than they're supposed to versus someone there's a dog abuse case, or do you have?
With our new computer system, I think it's easier to break things down like that. If it's getting put in, which it is getting put in there because someone does it. So I think we'll probably be able to do that, but I'll have to go back and look through all the historical proof.
I'm going to go home and take another look at the contracts that you got for the other counties just to get an idea, and then I can reach out to city administrator and see if we can get a figure if they have something in their budget
that's specifically earmarked for animal control enforcement.
And then, Grace, if you have the ability just to kind of maybe give us a ballpark of what you think the calls are that you're responding to the most, just so we have an idea, at least maybe a list to start with in regards to, these seem to be the services we're providing now, and maybe there's some of those we don't need to.
John Wirtz emphasized that he feels residents without pets should not be subsidizing animal control services for those who own pets and do so irresponsibly. He noted it's an unfair cost to the large senior population, many of whom are on a fixed income. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, DeWitt Savings Bank provides tips for improving credit score. Electric bicycles are bringing a new convenience to some Central Illinoisans, but local law enforcement is raising concerns over how they are being operated on public roadways. Clinton Police Chief Ben Lowers indicates low-speed e-bikes have transformed from the homemade motorbikes of a decade ago into a massive, highly commercialized trend that has quickly become a top source of public feedback.
I have not looked up the statistics, but I would love to know what the expansion of e-bikes has been in just the last 2 years, let's say. I know 12 or 15 years ago, we dealt with the homemade low-speed gas and electric bicycles, but that we adoringly referred to as DUI bikes. A lot of times, folks, it doesn't require a driver's license to have one of those. And so again, a dozen or 15 years ago, we dealt with I called them the weed whacker bikes, made out of a hand built out of but now they have become so much more commercialized. And here in just the last few years, just in the last couple of years anyways, these low speed e-bikes have just become so very popular. And we're seeing so many of them here in Clinton and throughout. I think they were first introduced, probably the scooters and the e-bikes in the larger cities. You can rent them now, and have been able to for several years, but they've made their way to rural America. And I would venture to guess, Seth, that is probably the number one complaint that I hear from the public as of late, is the amount of e-bikes.
Chief Lowers outlined the 3 distinct legal classifications of e-bikes under Illinois law, noting that while standard models cap motorized assistance between 20 and 28 miles per hour, none of them require a valid driver's license.
What I want to talk about is, and we'll touch on the legalities of what an e-bike is and where they're authorized and what goes along with that. But the biggest issue that we have is the operation of an e-bike. Okay. An e-bike, there's 3 classifications of electric bicycles, low speed electric bicycles, all of them under a 750 watt motor. Class 1, a Class 1 e-bike is a motor that provides pedal assistance up to 20 miles per hour when the motor shuts off. A Class 2 is throttle assisted, and it shuts off at 20 miles per hour. It doesn't require it to be pedaled to engage the motor. And then our Class 3, which is a motor that provides pedal assistance up to 28 miles per hour. By Illinois law, the bicycles do have to carry a manufacturer sticker indicating their motor size and their classification between those 3. Class 1 and 2 require to be 15 years of age. A Class 3 requires a 16-year-old rider. However, none of the above require a valid Illinois driver's license.
Because e-bikes are legally exempt from standard motor vehicle registration, they have surged in popularity among minors and individuals without standard driving privileges. However, Chief Lauer stresses that the primary hazard stems from operators who lack basic training on standard rules of the road.
And so they have become extremely popular among kids, but they've also become extremely popular among those individuals who don't have a driver's license or perhaps have lost their driver's license, because as the Illinois Vehicle Code has exempted them as a motor vehicle as defined, they don't require a driver's license at this time. My issue with that legislation, and again, it translates into the number of complaints that we get in law enforcement about the e-bikes, is those individuals have also not been through proper training as to the rules of the road. And so they're relying on, what they know or believe or what a parent or an adult has taught them. And so when it comes to yielding, when it comes to lane usage and signal, obedience to traffic signals and such, whether they just are ignoring those or whether they just legitimately don't know because they don't have that driver's license. They don't have that experience on our roadways. But it is creating quite a conundrum for our motoring traffic.
Next week, from the Hart Media Group, Chief Lowers will outline several more concerns around public safety and e-bikes, as well as note the enforcement efforts of his officers to help keep those who use these models of transportation safe. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Chevrolet is the heartbeat of America, and now is the time to celebrate our nation's birthday in a new Chevrolet. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City, inviting you to come see our selection of Chevrolets, like the sporty Chevrolet Trax and the good-looking Trailblazer. We also have a good selection of Chevrolet Equinox and the full-size Traverse. Chevrolet, together let's drive. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
It's the quiet moments you count on. A call that connects instantly, a show that never buffers, a home that just works. That's the difference with Connexus Fiber Internet. We built a buried fiber network designed for consistency, earning us the title of top-rated fiber internet provider in Illinois. With plans starting as low as $25 a month and 3-year price lock options, it's reliability you can feel without the unpredictability. Because with Connexus, connection means everything. Experience better at Connexus.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 23 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. The concept of credit scores can be a very confusing one, but it is very important to have and understand. Connie Miller with the DeWitt Savings Bank explains that your credit score is crucial for making large purchases like a home, apartment, or car, or for securing loans. She says the best way to increase that number is to simply pay your bills on time.
It's that time of year where people are moving, they're buying new homes, things like that. So this is top of mind right now. And a lot of people ask, how do I improve my credit score? Do I really need a credit score? Well, yes, you sort of do need a credit score for a lot of things. They look at your credit, and your credit score sometimes when you get employed, like when you're looking for a job, down payment on for a house or for utility bills, things like that, car, any of that. So, but the biggest issue is people always ask, well, how do I increase my score? They might look at their Credit Karma score, which is only 2 of the 3 big credit bureaus that report to that. And it's always like a little behind of what your actual credit score may be if you go to a bank or a credit union to get a loan.
Okay.
So be prepared. And then each kind of loan might have a different score, they choose a different type of score. But basically, if you pay your bills on time, that's 35% of the credit score.
Right. Yeah.
So pay it on time. You might want to, I have it set so it automatically, my credit card is automatically paid every month. The balance is just paid.
Another big portion of your credit score has to do with available balance. Miller recommends only spending up to 30% of your total credit limit to ensure your credit score doesn't decrease.
So the things that also matter are like how much is owed on your credit card. So they look at your total available credit. And if you have, let's say you have a credit card and you want to limit how much credit you have and you just have $1,000 limit, if you go above 30% of the available credits, that's $300 balance, then your credit score may go down a little bit.
Okay.
If it's under that 30%, it will stay higher.
Okay.
And this is about 30% of your credit score. So we
Right.
just talked about over half of our credit score, right? I know people who put their their utility bill on a credit card, like auto pay, or not utility, like their phone bill, like their cell phone bill, or maybe their internet or something like that they'll put on there.
Got
And that's all they use it for.
Mm.
But something to remember, I will have young people say, oh, I have a $500 credit limit and I'm really careful. I pay it off every month, and I don't use a lot of that credit. Well, if you're using more than $166 per month, you're over 30%. So either raise your credit limit or be really careful. And sometimes your bill comes out, you have the 166 that you spent, and then you put more on that credit card. So you're over the 30%. So just be careful with that.
Credit history is also important, which is why it can be a good idea to get a credit card early in life, as long as you can be trusted with it. A long credit history provides a record of your on-time payments and good habits for lenders.
But along with that then is your length of credit history. So that is, 15% is length of credit history, how long you've had your credit card. So if let's say you just graduated from college, you've had your credit card 6 months, I've had mine for 30 years, and I've been paying it off. That's better predictor of financial stability, isn't it? Than someone's had it for 6 months. So I always tell people to be wary though, if they're paying off debt and they have a credit card that they paid off and they just go close it, did they just slash their length of credit history if they close that card? So sometimes they'll say, just leave it open, pay it off, leave it open. They'll eventually close it because you're not using it. And especially if you're looking to buy a house and you need a good credit score, I would recommend not closing it unless you're tempted to use it again. And then types of credit in use, like if you have all credit card debt, that's more of a red flag than I have a car loan and a mortgage. So they look at what your mix of credit you have. And the last one is new credit. If you're getting a lot of new credit cards, it's a red flag for them. And it makes sense. Like maybe you think, oh, I'm going to lose my job or actually they say that if someone's gets a lot of credit cards, they're usually going into business for themselves, and that they know that's a red flag for that.
Credit scores will come into play for college students and possibly their parents who are looking to take out student loans for the upcoming school year. We'll have more with Miller on that in the days ahead from the Heart Media Group. With summer vacations underway, the need for blood across Illinois is reaching critical levels, leaving blood banks with only a few days' supplies. Kirby Wynn, the director of communications at Impact Life, reports that the biggest need is type O positive and O negative blood, which are at critically low levels.
Our blood center Impact
Impact Life provides blood products to more than 120 hospitals across the Midwest, including states like Illinois and Iowa. To find a blood donation center, visit bloodcenter.org. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWitt County's #1 source for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more. It's all free all the time at DeWittDailyNews.com.
SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Election integrity, multiple polls show it's an issue of concern for Americans cutting across political lines. President Trump says it's high time to guarantee the sanctity of the vote in America. When it comes to meddling in U.S. elections, President says one country in particular, Communist China, stands head and shoulders above all others. However, Beijing denies interfering in U.S. elections. Air quality advisories of varying intensity have been posted across a vast area, result of hundreds of wildfires raging north of the border in Canada. The haze from the wildfire smoke is clearly visible. It's a particular concern for those who already suffer breathing issues. Authorities in Texas have rescued hundreds of stranded motorists and those trapped in homes. At least 2 people have died, a result of catastrophic flooding. More details, srnnews.com.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-419-2387. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-419-2387. 800-419-2387. 800-419-2387.
From the Heart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Connor McMichael has signed a 6-year, $40.5 million contract with the St. Louis Blues. General Manager Alex Steen, who took over the job from Doug Armstrong on July 1st, announced the deal Thursday. McMichael will count $6.75 million against the salary cap through the 2031-32 NHL season. McMichael joined the team as part of the return from the Washington Capitals in the Jordan Kyrou trade last month. St. Louis also got a first-round pick and prospect Milton Gastrin. This long-term contract more than triples McMichael's salary after he made $2.1 million each of the past 2 seasons. The 25-year-old forward is coming off setting a career high with 32 assists and also scoring 14 goals in 78 games with the Capitals. He has 162 points in 333 regular games and playoff games since making his debut in the league in 2021 after getting taken with the 25th pick in the 2019 draft. In the MLB yesterday, the Mets and the Phillies kicked off the back half of the MLB regular season. It was a victory for New York 4-1 over Philadelphia in Philly. In matchups for today, the White Sox are on WHOW tonight at 5:30 p.m. for pregame as they kick off a weekend series with the Toronto Blue Jays. Anthony Kay gets the start for Chicago opposite Toronto's Spencer Miles. Pre-game for Saturday's outing begins at 1:30 p.m. and Sunday's outing begins at 10:30 a.m. In MLB matchups for today, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox play a doubleheader in Boston. The first game starts at 12:35 p.m. and the second at 6:10. At 6:05 tonight, the Los Angeles Dodgers go to New York to take on the Yankees, and the Pittsburgh Pirates will go across the border to Cleveland to take on the Guardians at 6:10 p.m. At 6:15, the Texas Rangers travel to the Atlanta Braves, while at 6:40, the Milwaukee Brewers play host to the Miami Marlins. The Chicago Cubs take on the Minnesota Twins in Chicago at 7:05 p.m., while at 7:10 p.m., the Houston Astros host the Baltimore Orioles. At 7:10 p.m., the San Diego Padres will take on the Kansas City Royals in Kansas City, while at 7:40 p.m., the Cincinnati Reds travel to Colorado to take on the Rockies. At 8:38 p.m. tonight, the Detroit Tigers head to LA to take on the Angels, while at 8:40, the Arizona Diamondbacks play host to the St. Louis Cardinals. Also at 8:40, the Athletics will host the Washington Nationals, and at 9:10 p.m., the San Francisco Giants will head north to Seattle to take on the Mariners in a West Coast matchup. Taking a look at the leaderboard for the British Open, at the moment, Lucas Herbert of Australia is 7 under through 11 holes. Tied for second is the American Bud Cauley. He's played 11 holes and is 5 under. Jackson Suber of the USA is through 16 holes and tied for second, being 5 under. And the third golfer in a 5 under tied for second situation is Colin Morikawa, but he has only played 9 holes so far. Tied for fifth across the board is the Korean Sungjae Im, the English Daniel Brown, and the American Pearson Cootie, and the English Matt Wallace. All of those golfers are 4 under. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 87. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Slight chance of thunderstorms tonight, lows dip down to about 72, partly cloudy skies. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 75 degrees.
Let's check Ag News on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yonke. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's Market Intel page, beeper losses are expected for farmers in 2027 compared to 2026. Fertilizer and fuel costs were already elevated heading into 2026, and the conflict with Iran has added further pressured those markets, according to the page. AFBF analysis shows losses are expected to deepen in 2027, estimating without federal assistance, farmers growing 9 principal crops will lose $32 billion. National average returns over total costs, $31 billion in 2026 on a per acre basis. Every crop analyzed is projected to remain below break even in 2027. Farm Bureau says additional economic assistance is needed and is supported on a bipartisan basis, and longer term policy solutions to help stabilize the farm economy are needed. You can read more about this from the market intel page at fb.org. Added corn losses are projected to increase from $131 an acre in 2026 to $167 on a national per acre average next year. Soybean losses increase from $80 per acre to $138, wheat from $114 to $145. Now to Washington, and House Democrats are keeping up pressure over Farm Bill nutrition cuts as Senate Ag leaders seek a political path on SNAP to advance their own Farm Bill. RFD's Washington correspondent Matt Kay reports.
Senate Ag Democrats are taking heat from House colleagues to keep up the fight over SNAP cuts, complicating a path forward for a Senate Farm Bill. Among them, top House Ag Democrat Angie Craig, Jim McGovern, and recently California's Jim Costa.
Reconsider the SNAP payments on that Farm Bill in September. Fraud is a crime, but hunger is not.
Senate Democrats are demanding a delay in Farm Bill SNAP cost shifts to all states, not just high payment error ones. Costa complained cost shifting isn't the first time SNAP took hits.
The Agriculture Appropriations Bill made this cut, as I said, 5.6% or another $6 billion below last year's enacted measure.
After new SNAP work requirements and other savings in the president's tax bill enacted last summer. But it's not just SNAP.
On top of that, they're cutting fruit and vegetable benefits from the Women, Infants, and Children's program. Fruits and vegetables, healthy aspects of our diet, right?
Any Senate Farm Bill would still face tough negotiations with the House, and some predict may not happen till after the midterms. Senate Ag had not set a markup date as of midweek, with just 3 weeks left before the Senate recesses for August break. The House leaves at the end of next week. For the RFD Radio Network, Matt Kay on Capitol Hill.
The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative earlier this week announced that the president's direction under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, imposing a 25% tariff on certain goods of Brazil.
It's never too early to start thinking about back-to-school preparations. Part of getting your kids ready for the new school year means making sure they're healthy. SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back-to-school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine. Forward for you.
With the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Friday morning, I'm Jim Taylor. Corn lower, beans lower, wheat finishing Thursday steady. September corn closing 441.5 down 6. December corn down 5.5. 464. March corn 479.5.